Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the current status of the Jacksonville Jaguars after they fall to 2-10 on the season after a rather embarrassing loss 37-7 in LA against the Rams. So now, while dropping to 2-10 on the season, they now are just about locked in for a top 5 pick coming up in the 2022 draft. They have now lost 4 straight and are still winless on the road in the 2021 season, and they are looking at another high draft pick for another year, which in hindsight is not a bad thing, but it's very discouraging for many Jags fans, which is understandable. But with them being seemingly locked into a top 5 pick at worst, this is a good building point for the Jaguars, and they need to get, whether it's an offensive piece or defensive piece, they need to get a very impactful piece with this pick coming up. And they have to, honestly, at this point, probably lose out, even though they probably won't with the Jets and Texans still on the schedule. But a lose out at this point would lock us into a top 2 pick. We'd be in battling with the Lions, who are 1-10-1 for the number 1 pick. But at this point, I don't even care about getting the number 1 pick. As long as we get a top 5 pick, I'm pretty much happy. And if we can sneak into the top 3 and stay there, I would be actually very happy, because then we'd get one of Thibodeau or Hutchinson, ideally. And if not, you take Neal or you even get somebody else. And to talk about today's loss against the Rams, it was kind of embarrassing, but people have to look big picture that the Jags are fighting a lot of injuries and are still in the midst of a rebuild. They have a very young team. I mean, they're helmed by a 22-year-old quarterback, who's a young 22, by the way. He had just turned 22 not too long ago. And a rookie head coach who, even though he had a lot of winning success in college and NFL is a very different thing. And this offseason, I'm hoping that the Jaguars realize that the coordinators that they currently have probably aren't it. They don't seem like they fully understand what this team needs. And hopefully this offseason, everybody on this team can get healthy, including Etienne, Chark, Arnold, Agnew, Shaquille, even though he'll be back this season at some point with his concussion. But I'm hoping he has a healthy 2022 season, and overall just good health for the Jaguars next season would be a huge game changer, because you have to realize the Jaguars are missing a lot of key pieces, with Chark being the main deep threat, Agnew being a return specialist but also being a gadget guy, as we saw. Etienne was supposed to be that change of pace back that Carlos Hyde is now being, which Carlos Hyde is not effective in that role. Dan Arnold was actually probably the most consistent receiver, not even just tight end, but receiver on this team this year. As well as Shaquille Griffin's easily our CB1, and without him, our secondary looks completely lost. It's a very rough season for the Jaguars right now. The only position that I'm genuinely concerned with for the long term is probably offensive line. Our defensive line could get a little bit more push with the pass rush, but as time goes on, it will come with Josh Allen, of course, still maturing as a player. He's nowhere near his ceiling. Smoot is going to do his thing, and we have another couple pieces in Chason, Hamilton, Tufele. All these guys will continue to improve. And as they move up, the main position that I want to really address this offseason is probably going to be offensive line and maybe linebacker, because those are the two positions that when I watch everything on the big picture, those are the two areas that just look simply overmatched in every part of football. I mean, our linebackers are, even though we have Miles Jack, who is one of the best linebackers in the league, or so we thought, he's severely underperforming this year in a 3-4, which I don't know if he fits in that. It's pretty apparent that he's not comfortable in it, as the way he's playing is nowhere near where he should be. As well as our safety position could also use a little bit of help, but I'm hoping Cisco long term can be somewhat of a solution to that position. Aside from the other side, we have Jenkins, who has been struggling quite a bit, so I don't know if he's a solution. We have Wingard, who, I mean, I love Wingard. He's a decent guy. He's a good spot starter, but I don't know if he's a long-term solution at the position. And overall, the Jaguars have a lot of good pieces in place, but my concern going forward is probably going to be the offensive line, number one, protecting Trevor Lawrence, and also the offensive line improving to the point where they can get a consistent run game. Because when we have a good run game going, Trevor is 10 times more comfortable, and it's so apparent. So hopefully the Jaguars can look to address that this offseason, and even at some point in the rest of this season, maybe try a couple new things, try people in different positions, try some of the backups, just see what we have at this point at certain positions. Because at this point, the team is just not playing well. It's not playing good football. I know there is injuries at very key positions of the field, but it's honestly embarrassing after today's showing against the Rams. The defense looked okay at times, but very not strong enough, basically, to stop them. Now, I know the Rams have a very good offense, but, I mean, we should never be overmatched the amount we were, especially considering they're missing Robert Woods and Darrell Henderson, both, which are two star pieces of their offense. And then on top of that, their defense made us look like we had a high school offense. I mean, we're not even going to talk about that. I don't even want to get into that. But one good thing going for the Jaguars is they've found a very good punter in Logan Cook, at least. I mean, the guy's a Pro Bowl puncher, maybe even All-Pro at this rate. He seems to pin the other team almost inside their own 20 10 times a game, it feels like, at this point. Which necessarily isn't a good thing because that means we're punting too much, but in the silver lining, it's good to have a punter like that for the long term, at least. So we know once we are actually improving, we will be able to pin teams and actually have that lead to wins. But I'm going to wrap up this video, so thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, leave a like, and if you're new, make sure to subscribe, and as always, peace out, Duval.